short story. So 11 years back, that's 2008. That's 2008. I was working on a very interesting solution on smartphones. I was extremely invested in this, primarily because I was the one who had filed the patents on this. So there were patents filed by me on this solution. So I spent almost a year, perhaps more than a year, working on this solution, adding features after features, porting this from one smartphone platform to another smartphone platform. And yet after all these years, now, when I think back, I often ask myself, did I really add any value to my end user with everything that I created there, right? Was that useful at all? For that matter, I would say, was that innovation at all? How many of you in the room have had that feeling before? You worked on solutions before, thought it's innovation, and then, yeah, few hands, good to know, not alone, great, so that makes sense. Fair enough. So we as product leaders always want a higher degree of possibility of our ideas getting successful, or at least even hitting the market, let alone being successful or not. So if you have an innovative idea, you would like a higher likelihood of these reaching the market. That's typically what product leaders would at least want as a starting point, right? And then, so I decided to think about this kind of a question here. Now, how do you really create innovative solutions? How do you create effective innovative solutions? Everyone creates innovative solutions, but what about the effective ones? So what I will take you through, and the slides work, what I will take you through in the next 20 to 30 to 20 to 30 minutes is 3 parts. First, we will begin with the innovation challenge. And I'm sure plenty of you here are familiar with some of the ideas that I will have presented here. Then I'll talk about a 3-point framework. It always has to be 3 points. There's a 3-point framework which talks about how do you mitigate these challenges to increase the likelihood of your ideas reaching the market. And then we'll close it with a few key takeaways here. Does that sound like a plan? Yes. Great. Okay. So before I proceed further, just quickly introduce myself. My name is Shubham Bhattacharya. I am an Indian, and I just came back from a month-long vacation in India. So thank you, Andrea, for immediately following this up with the talk. So I actually live in Oslo. I live in Norway. That's where I work. I work as Director of Strategic Portfolio Management with a company named Nagra. And we are a Kudelski group company, a larger group company. And our primary customers are the media and the entertainment industry. We create enterprise software, security, and service solutions for them. So I've previously worked with household brands like Philips TV and Samsung. I'm an engineer by background, and one of the reasons I moved into Europe, I think 7 or 8 years back, was to pursue an MBA at HEC Paris. So this is France, right? And before that, I spent about 10 years as a developer myself. I've coded in C++. I still do a bit of that out of hobby. And then I flirted with innovation and technology, and eventually found my calling, I say, in product management. That's where I've loved it myself right now. And while working at Philips TV, I was the product manager for Android TVs and Philips smart TVs. And until more recently, I was a product manager for security solutions within the Kudelski group. So that's a long story short, long story long, of my background. So across all these different roles, so product development, product management, and now portfolio strategy or portfolio management, there's one common thing that I see is the difficulty of balancing innovation, balancing different kind of innovation initiatives. So where do you put your bets on? How much resources can you afford to put your bets on them? All of these challenges are present everywhere: product development, product management, portfolio strategy, depending upon the size of companies you are in. So I'm going to take you through a few of the innovation challenges here quickly. What's common amongst these 3 brands here? Brilliant. So you kind of took the last point. Yes, you have a question.
They're all machines.
They're all machines. Fair enough. So let me do the lines I have kind of memorized, right? I have to do those. So they are all technology companies. They're all technology brands. They were all market leaders.
Yeah.
And like you rightly said, they were market leaders. They're all dead today. They don't exist in the same shape, size, and form like before. Why? Several reasons. They failed to innovate in the right directions. Could be one of those, right? Sorry to pull up Nokia there. So, I'm sure all of you are familiar with Lego as well. But did you know that Lego almost went bankrupt at a point in time? Yeah, so this was back in 2003. The sales were down 30% year on year is what I read last time. They had $850 million of debt on their books. That's close to $1 billion of debt. One of the key competitive advantages that Lego had were their patents. And these patents had expired. And like it happens to any other successful company whose patents expire, there were plenty of copycat products in the market, right? So this naturally pressurized their revenues, their margins, and put them in a really tough spot. So they were in a really bad shape. Now this is my 9-year-old daughter playing with Lego friends today. And I would really say thank you to the new CEO who was brought in the year 2004 in Lego, who managed to change things around. He reinvented the business, he turned the business around. But what do you think he started with first? Did he start with new product innovation? Was that the first thing to do? So, quite the contrary actually. He started first by cleaning what I call the backyard. So he first triggered innovation in the manufacturing process of Lego. So he streamlined the operations for Lego. That was the first step. Then he went on to say, any initiative or product or service that is not core to brand Lego needs to be dead. Do not spend time and effort on any initiative that is not core to the brand Lego. And under this, so if you don't mind, I can take questions at the end. Is that okay? Just hold a thought, make a note, and we'll take the questions at the end. Yeah? Thanks. So there were several initiatives that were then kind of killed because they were not core to brand Lego. And it was only after this that they started the process of innovative products or introducing new products. And even for this, Lego went outside the building, they did their user research, and they found underserved market segments or underserved user segments. So my daughter is one of those, for example, right? So they saw young girls play with Lego in a very different manner compared to boys of that same age. And that's when they introduced Lego Friends, which had a different logic to it, and it was an instant success. So Lego certainly managed to change the business around, while those 3 technology companies didn't, and many others didn't. So they managed their innovation resources in a better manner. They kind of focused in the right areas and did it in a sequence which worked for them. So this thing is hard. Innovation is hard, right? Period. There's probably no discussion about this topic, but innovation is hard. And what do mature companies, big companies that are market leaders, they have this big market share and huge revenues. When they want to find new growth engines, how often do they succeed? So they try to enter new businesses because they want new growth engines. They have to think about the business for tomorrow, because today is running fine. What about tomorrow? So when they have to do this, they go out hunting for new businesses and they try to enter this. And how often do you think they succeed or fail? How often do you think they succeed? Anybody care to guess?
Less than 15%.
Less than 15%. Any other guesses? How often do they fail?
Less than 5.
Less than 5. Brilliant. So you're all in the ballpark here. So 90% of them fail. 90% of them fail. So barely 10 of them succeed. And the number is, one study to another would vary from 85, 95. The core point being most of them do not manage to succeed. So innovation is hard. And one of the things is we as product leaders want with new innovative ideas would always want unlimited resources. We wish we could do everything under the sky, right? But we have to be aware that we have limited resources. We are constrained by limited resources. So the first thing is financial resources, right? No matter the company is big or small, you might have huge cash on your books, but you still have limited cash on your books. The financial capability is going to be limited, and projects and teams compete for these financial resources when there are new, different innovation initiatives that come in. Then there is a matter of people. So there are competencies and capabilities that are built by a company over a period of years. So there's expertise built in the company over a period of years. And then if you want to venture into new businesses, you need new competencies. You have two ways of doing this. Hire new people with that competency or train a certain amount of staff. Regardless which method you choose, it will take you time. And especially in today's days of time, time is one of the most rare resource available in the age of digital competition. Right? So as product leaders, we have to kind of succumb and acknowledge the fact that we have limited resources. And when it comes to creating new ideas, brainstorming new initiatives, we have to be very careful about where we put our bets on. Again, as product managers, when it comes to innovation, we always want to look for interesting problems to solve. One of the points you mentioned was about the perceptual quest for finding problems to solve. And what do I mean by interesting problems? So as product managers, we are supposed to be the voice of the customer, right? So we represent the customer in the business. But as product leaders, we are also representing the business. So trying to find that unique balance between creating value for the customer and capturing value for the business is a tough job that each of us as product managers have to do on a daily basis. So especially when you look at new innovative ideas that you need to think about, when you're brainstorming new ideas and you've created this brand initiative and you walk into the executive management team asking for a buy-in about ideas, for resources, you have to be very clear about the objective of the idea. So what do you want to achieve with this idea? Do you want to improve the financial metrics? Is it about the revenues, the profits, the costs? Is that going to be improved? Or you're looking for improving the intangibles like brand equity? Or are you talking about let's improve the competitive standing in the industry landscape? No matter what the objective is, it has to be clearly articulated, because only then your management teams will be able to give you a buy-in saying you are hence allowed to put certain amount of resources on this, because resources are limited. So as product leaders, we have these challenges. We've seen what happens in the industry. There are studies which show innovation is hard. So in retrospect, we need to look at the fact if you're asking the right kind of questions when creating new innovative ideas. Are we really solving the right problems? And like I like to say, and the picture I chose, are you hitting the hammer on the right head? So when you think about new innovation initiatives, are you solving problems for the people that matter to the business? So who are you really innovating for? These are questions to ask yourself when you are, one, brainstorming new ideas, and two, prioritizing between multiple ideas. So if I were to summarize the first part, the innovation challenge, is the acknowledgement from the product leadership that resources are limited, and we have to play that dual role of balancing between value creation and value capture. And then also understanding that we cannot run the business merely by, hey, I have an idea, let's run with it, but we have to ask the right questions and keep asking questions till we are able to get the right answers for them or have some kind of validation for it. So that was the innovation challenge. So what I present to you next is a 3-point framework. The 3 points, the 3 things you need to do are, that will help you navigate through these challenges. Very simplistic idea. Few examples that I have faced myself in my previous experience. Few instances that you will see coming up from the industry. So the first one is know your user. Plain simple, know your user. Why do you need to know your user? When you create a new innovative idea, when you're looking at brainstorming ideas, when you're finding problems to solve, know who your users are going to be, because that will help you understand what is the key value proposition you want to deliver. And key value proposition sounds like a very fancy term to many people, but the idea basically is very simple. What are the basic needs and problems that you're solving? That's the basic thing, right? That's nothing more than that. So understanding your users' needs, which means potentially including user research as early as possible in your entire innovation process. And there are many frameworks, many tools that are available to do user research. A couple of tools that I have been using in my previous experience, and even now, are jobs to be done. How many of you have heard of jobs to be done? Okay, sizable number. What about value proposition canvas from Strategizer. Okay, also similar numbers, great. So these, I personally feel these tools are very interesting to use because it gives you a certain kind of structure in being able to articulate what the needs are, because it lets you understand what your users' daily tasks and jobs are, find out what needs and pains they have, what are the objectives that your user is trying to fulfill, and then what challenges does this user have in trying to fulfill those objectives. And if you are able to solve one of those problems, or solve one of those challenges, then you've found the interesting problem to solve. So one of the places where I've seen this done really well in my recent experience, especially in terms of an outcome, was when I moved from Belgium. So I used to work with Philips TV in Belgium, and I moved to Norway. So there, one of the first things I did moving to a different city, changing countries, is open a bank account. Why? Because I need to get paid, right? Otherwise there's no food for the family. So opening the bank account, walking to this new bank, working with the executive there, filling up forms, doing the necessary paperwork. And the lady at the counter asks me, "Sir, do you speak Norwegian?" And it's been only 2 weeks I'm in the country, right? It's been 2.5 years now, I still don't speak, so no excuses. Fair enough. So it's been only 2 weeks and I didn't speak the language. And I said, politely declined, saying, "Sorry, I don't, but why do you ask?" So she said, "No, never mind, it's okay." And then she turns around, picks up this stack of printouts and hands it to me and says, "This is a user guide of the internet banking pages we have. So these are all in Norwegian, but we've printed out toolkits with English translations to help you navigate on the internet banking pages." Okay, so this was how it's going to be. All right. Well, I thought, fortunately, there is a browser which can translate web pages, right? So being an Indian, working in Europe, I've kind of lived on that browser. So life will be okay, I won't be dead. So I said, "Okay, thank you so much, I appreciate it." And I take it and get over with the rest of the paperwork. And like any other digital native, probably, the moment my bank account got activated, the first thing I did is download the mobile banking app. Right? What do they have there? That's what I wanted to see. And that's when I was delighted. Why? Because this app was in English. So clearly this bank understood that it had a certain user base which wanted its services used and wanted it done in the language they understand. So when it came to prioritizing between different kinds of initiatives they have, clearly they understood their end users, and they knew that delivering all the services they have on this app in the language my user understands is certainly going to add value. So I was definitely one happy customer they have. Because if you don't understand your user's needs here, what you might end up is, I'm building technology and I'm going to push this technology onto my user. So you end up pushing technology. And unfortunately, I have to give an example of my own self here. So the story I started with at the beginning, 11 years back, right? That was me pushing technology on my users. So let me elaborate that. This was a time when I was working with Samsung, 2008. And in Samsung Mobile, so this was Samsung Mobile business, and one of the priorities in the business was, we need to improve the multimedia experience of our end users. What does that mean? So users, when they're on the Samsung phones, when they're viewing pictures, or listening to music, or watching videos, that experience should be amazing, should be unique to Samsung. So under that context, I had filed these patents on an interesting solution that we were building, right? And let me visualize that solution for you. So you all have smartphones, and you all are used to watching. That wasn't me.
That's my swag, I think. Sorry.
Yeah. So users, you are used to watching videos on your smartphones, right? And then with this solution that I had created, so imagine that there is a grid of 2x2 videos, 4 videos on the screen, a grid of 2x2, right? So that's commonplace. But the patent I had filed was about playing all the 4 videos at the same time. All these 4 videos would play at the same time with the audio muted. Of course, the audio doesn't play, you don't know what you're hearing. So the audio is muted. And my idea here was, hey, if I play all the videos, you will know exactly the content of the video, and that will help entice you to make the right kind of choice. This was my logic. And yet the designer comes back, so from South Korea, being Samsung, from South Korea, the designer comes back with interaction guidelines. And he says, 4 videos. One of them plays, the remaining 3 paused, all of them static. It's like, seriously? The patent is about playing all 4 videos at the same time. 4 videos, right? And he says, no, 1 video playing, all 3 static. Doesn't happen. So you know what I did? Of course, I ignored his advice. I moved on, saying I'm going to play 4 and even more videos at the same time. and I put this on, I added tons of features, like I said, I added tons of features and I ported it on multiple mobile platforms. And this was back in the day when Symbian operating system existed, Windows CE existed. And that's why the passion about decoding 4 videos, that you couldn't do it back then. So this had to be like groundbreaking. And the few designers in the room here probably are like, bad idea. I know, now I know. Right? We as humans often have trouble figuring out, focusing on one single thing. Imagine seeing 4 videos playing at the same time. Where are you going to look? How are you going to choose? Right? So this is where I should have really listened to the design in the first place. That wasn't my strong word. But idea being, this was me saying, I've filed this patent, this is my technology, I'm going to push it through to my user. And of course I did not go to my users, I didn't ask them whether you like it, you dislike it. I just went on porting it everywhere. I spent more than a year, I guess, on that effort. And at the end of the day, then realized that this was not the way it should have been done. And even today, because of the realization at least, when I'm in my current workplace, it's very easy for me to get 5 people excited if I say blockchain, AI, machine learning. People get excited, let's build something. No. If I haven't understood what my end user needs, the application of these new technologies is pretty pointless. So let's breathe, understand the user needs, and then move on. So wrapping up on the knowing your user bit is to include user research as early as possible in your entire innovation process, and then unravel what kind of pains and needs are there and how do you solve them, and finding these interesting problems, and be very alert of those tendencies of pushing technology. Right, you have to really be alert about it yourself. So this is a place where product managers should kind of decouple from technology, like you said. Let the technology be somebody else's problem. You figure what problems are to be solved. Then, knowing your customer. And knowing there are so many product managers in this room, I imagine that many of you understand that a customer and a user is not always the same. They may not be the same, right? It depends upon B2C context, B2B businesses, what kind of business you are in. So knowing your customer is important because it depends upon the very aspects of your business model. So if you think of LinkedIn as a product, as a service, right? So if you and I are paid customers, paid users of LinkedIn, then we are one set of customers. So we have one set of customers as paid users. And then there are brands that advertise on LinkedIn. So that's the second set of customers. And then there are companies who use LinkedIn as talent solutions. So that's a third set of customers. So this is already a multi-sided business model. And there are many such businesses that exist which are multi-sided business model. But why is it relevant? Why is understanding the business model here relevant? Because that helps you expand or look further when it comes to the scope of innovation. What kind of audiences can you be innovating for? So when working at Philips TVs, I asked a set of developers. So I used to work in an innovation center, so we had tons of developers there. And I asked them saying, who do you think is the customer for Philips TV? Or a TV maker for that matter. Who do you think is a customer? And more often than not, the answer would come back that, well, it's people like you and me watching the TV in the living room, right? We buy the TV, watch it in the living room. That's the customer. And that's why we are creating all these fancy features for. But is it? Is that really the customer?
The retailer.
Thank you. So that was exactly the answer there. If you take the effort, so the customer for Philips TV in this case, or any TV maker, is that intermediary. That's the retailer. That's the key customer. And yes, the end user happens to be the customer beyond that. So the moment you say that, the developers then say, which means I can build something that might be of interest to the retailer as well. Of course, yes. Right? So if you use things like the tools that I've used before, like the business model canvas, again from Strategizer. So this is where you actually start to visualize your business model and figure out, oh, there are actually more than one customers, or actually the relevant customer is somebody else. So visualizing your business model then becomes very critical to understanding what can be the scope of your innovation. So you don't need to be, for Philips TV's case, you didn't need to innovate only for the end user. You could make life simpler for the retailer as well, and that might positively impact our business. So understanding your customer is also, understanding your business model and hence knowing who your customer is, then is a key part of this. Now, last summer, 2018 summer, yes, I was reading the biography of Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon, and I came across a very interesting anecdote. Now this anecdote is from back in the time when Amazon sold only books on their website. That feels like Bronze Age or something, right? So they sold only books on their website. And Amazon had just added a feature which allowed their end users to post review comments about the books they were reading. So you could actually, for the first time ever, post on their website whether you liked the book or not, what did you like about it, you would elaborate on that. And the first thing that book publishers react with, they went up in arms saying, hey, if a customer doesn't appreciate the book, he goes online, posts a review comment, posts a negative review comment, and then those books, the sales of those books are hurt, and Amazon, you will not make money. Very simple for them, right? But Jeff Bezos had a very interesting thinking on this, and that's fascinating. He said, we don't make money by selling things on our website. That seems very counterintuitive. First time I read this. Amazon doesn't make money by selling things on their website. According to Jeff Bezos, Amazon makes money by helping their customers make purchase decisions. It's a very interesting perspective there. So when you think of, if anybody's interviewed with Amazon, you probably know their 14 principles that are involved there. And Amazon is known for its customer obsession. And customer obsession is a very key part of their entire business model. So any and every initiative that comes into Amazon has to be customer driven. There has to be a certain customer obsession around it. One of the interesting product management practices they have is when creating new product ideas, they actually start with what they call a PR FAQ. So writing a press release document and then refining it over time, trying to articulate clearly what is the value of this for the end customer. So knowing your business model, understanding what the focus of the entire business model is. In this case, it's customer obsession. Do anything and everything. If you have an idea which is going to eventually impact the customer, that will help you drive innovation initiatives. So understanding your customer is important because you are able to then identify what kind of innovation initiatives you need to be driving. It helps you expand or contract or focus more your innovation efforts depending where you are. And visualizing the business model not only helps you brainstorm new ideas, because it's not just about product innovation, it can also be business model innovation. Visualizing a business model also helps you communicate the business model better and get different teams onboarded much better. So we talked about knowing your customer, knowing your user, knowing your customer. Lastly, the third one is basically knowing your business. So what do I mean by knowing your business? So understand your business metrics. So what is important for your business? Different big companies are in different states. They have priorities on different metrics at any point in time. So identify whether you are making money or losing money. So profits or losses, what's important right now. For certain companies, is revenues important, or is it important to get funding from the next investor? Are you a leader or a laggard in the competitive standing? Are you having a tough time differentiating yourself from others? What is it that matters to the business right now from the business perspective here? So understanding that is important because it helps you prioritize between different innovation initiatives. Whether you want to invest your time and effort on a moonshot project which will give you impact in 5 to 10 years or even more, versus whether you want to work on something that's going to create an impact in the medium term, will be driven by your business priorities. How many of you in the room have heard of Philips's Ambilight? Okay, a few of them, great. So what I will do is, I'm going to play a quick 30-second video. and you will see Ambilight. So for those who know it, so nice revision for you. You get to see the cool stuff. For those of you who don't know, I'll quickly explain what it is. Ambilight was on. Colors remind me of the northern lights where I come from, Nostra, right? So, well, the idea of Ambilight here is the TV has light emitting diodes, LEDs at the back of the frame, and it basically takes the picture, the color from the edge of the screen, and it copies it on the LED and hence it puts it on the wall behind. So this gives you a very nice immersive experience, and this is Philips has patents for it all these years, and they're unique. Hence, they're pretty unique in this technology in the TV space. Now, Ambilight has been a unique selling proposition of Philips for a long, long time. And yet, they've had a tough time selling this in. So, this experience is best suited for a dimly lit living room, right? Less lights, movie experience, that's why you enjoy this. But these TVs get sold in the retailers in such a setup. Whoop. Oh, slide's missing. Okay, fair enough. So this TV gets basically sold in the retail environment where the lights are brightly lit, right? So if you walk into a media mart, for example, here, you would see TVs lined up on shelves, right? Or they're hanging on the wall, all next to each other, and there is probably this much gap between the TV and the wall. So there's no way you can experience that immersive Ambilight experience on the shop floor. So having such a cool, having such a nice immersive experience and yet not being able to convince the end users was a challenge that Philips had for a long time. So at a point in time, in the business objective perspective, right, we had the priority on, you need to reduce the waste in innovation, you need to focus your innovation better, and you need to maximize your profits. That was the guidance from the top. That's what needs to be done. So in that context, we had a few ideas that we were thinking of. So one was about improving the user experience of the smart TV interface of the Philips smart TVs. There was some ideas around that. And then there were some ideas around improving the experience of the mobile interaction. So we always have second screen apps with any smart TVs. You have mobile apps that interacts with the TV. So improving the experience of the smart TV app, the smartphone app with the smart TV, the interactions. The third was around building the ability of demonstrating Ambilight on the shop floor. Period. Right. There's no fancy stuff. It just needs to be demonstrated better on the shop floor. And given the context we were in, tough market conditions, we need the profitabilities to go up and waste has to be reduced. We made the choice of sticking with the feature on Ambilight. So what we did, we didn't necessarily think it's required to build a setup, to do some user research, figure out how does it work on the shop floor, work with retailers, tried and tested a few models with them, and finally came out with a solution that worked. So at the end of it, the retailers were happy that we were able to actually demonstrate Ambilight better on the shop floor. What that resulted in was these retailers could then demonstrate to end users. If you walk into one of these stores, they could demonstrate to you what Ambilight is in that shop environment itself in a much better manner. And hence, the moment you as an end user sees that uplift in experience, you're willing to pay for that uplift in premium, the prices. That part of the premium, of course, always gets into the TV business also, right? That's the whole objective. So in the organization context of minimizing the waste, maximizing the profits, you need to focus your innovation efforts. The choice of focusing on the Ambilight demonstration ability worked pretty well for us, with retailers being happy and at the end of the day showing us positive outcomes. So knowing your business metrics, what matters to you at a point in time, is crucial when you're trying to draft new innovation initiatives. So it'll help you figure out which kind of initiatives should we be choosing at this point in time, given the current context we have. So this is also a place where you are able to then capture value for your own business, right? You've, of course, created all the ideas, you found what the problems are, and this is where you're also able to figure out that in the context we are in, we can capture value in this sort of way. So, you know your user, know your customer, know your business. I'm going to now wrap up with some few key takeaways. So at the beginning we spoke about the innovation challenge. As product leaders, we need to be aware and acknowledge the fact that we have limited resources. Period. You can't really do anything about it. You can switch to the biggest of companies, but you still have limited resources. You have to, as product leaders, balance between capturing value and creating value. That's a never-ending, everyday tussle for product managers. And the fact that you have limited resources and all of this, and that innovation is hard, you still need to be asking a whole lot of questions when you're framing your innovation initiatives, when you're creating new ideas, and when you're communicating about these ideas to others. So we talked about knowing your user because that will help you figure out what is the key value proposition you need to deliver. You will be able to use user research and other tools to unravel the needs, the pains, and what value proposition can be delivered. Understanding a business model to know who your customer is, because that will help you understand or figure out what kind of scope of innovation you have available for you. And at the end of the day, understanding your business metrics, because that will help you prioritize between multiple initiatives. You'll be able to create better impact or meaningful impact actually for your business with the new ideas that you're thinking of. So understanding a user, knowing a customer here, knowing a business, essentially in my opinion is basically knowing your own context. Every company has its own specific context. In your own competitive landscape you are in your own with own competencies and capabilities you have built in, with your own issues that you have to address, challenges you need to address, you will have your own unique context. So when you're thinking of new initiatives, build this context in when you're brainstorming these ideas. And even when you've figured out what you want to, which path do you want to take, when you're communicating with the rest of the organization, communicate this context. I think that's even more important. As product leaders, cross-functional collaboration is one of the most important tools we have at our hands, and it's one of the most important things to be done. Because as product leader, you want to rally the rest of the organization. So knowing your own context while you create innovative ideas, but also communicating the context because you want everybody else on board to contribute in their own small way on these innovative ideas once you've started executing them. So at the end of the day, if you were to ask again how to create effective innovative solutions, effective innovative is the key word here. Before you start coding, you basically look at these three basic things when you're building new ideas and when you're communicating about your ideas, when you're walking into a management team for a buy-in, building all of this context in. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention.